of our school, John Moffat. And every day we're proud to say the name of our school, John Moffat.
Hello, welcome to the Moffat Title Test Season 5, Episode 2. Hi, I am Ben.
And I'm Andre.
Today we have a special guest, Scott Swan, worked as a business manager for the refrigerant group at Arkema.
Welcome, Mr. Swan, and thank you for being a part of the Moffat Tattletale.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to be here today.
Will you share with the audience what the company Arkema does?
Sure. Thank you, Benjamin. So just to share with you a little bit about Arkema. So it's a French company, but our U.S. headquarters is in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. And the company makes many different chemical products for the world, mostly plastics. So things like that we use in batteries for electric vehicles. It makes a lot of different materials for paints and coatings, as well as adhesives. And then in my business, we make refrigerants for air conditioners and refrigerators.
What is your job as business manager, if you could explain it?
Yeah, sure. So the business manager, his or her responsibility is to be the commercial leader for the business. Basically, make sure that the business financially is performing the way it's supposed to. So I work with the sales team as well as our supply chain team, make sure we're getting products to customers, and we're operating the business the way that works best for the company. I also do some work for new product development. So we're always looking at introducing new products into the market. And so part of my job is to work with our R&D teams to make sure that we can introduce new products for new customers.
Can you describe what refrigerants are and how do they help people?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So think about refrigerants as like the blood in your body. And refrigerants help to move heat from one place to another in a building or in a refrigerator or whatever thing that you're trying to cool. So your blood in your body moves around, to get nutrients and things like that to your different body parts. Well, the refrigerant is moving around in an air conditioner or in a refrigerator through pipes and very, very, very small pipes that exchange heat with the outside. So we're trying to move that heat from one place to another. And when we do that, when we move the heat away, we actually chill the other space. And that chilled space, whether it's an air conditioner to help keep us cool, or in your refrigerator to keep your food cold, all those kinds of things. And maybe it's in your car where you have air conditioning as well. That's the purpose of the refrigerant, and that's what it does. It helps to move that heat from one place to another.
What is the biggest challenge for you in this position, and how do you overcome it?
Wow, that's a tough question. So what's the biggest challenge with this position? I guess it's time management and priorities. So, you only have so much time in a day, and you only have so much that you can accomplish. And so making sure that, you're working on the right things at the right time, and you're being efficient with, the people that you're working with. So I'd say that's the biggest challenge, is to always, every day, make sure that I'm being as efficient as I can be, and I'm tackling the really important things that need to be accomplished for the business. So if there are some things, maybe I have a little extra time that I can work on and sit down and think about, that's great. But I don't always get that opportunity. So sometimes I have to, sort of prioritize, this is really important. This is maybe a little bit less important, and I try to work on the really important things first. So I think that's probably for me the toughest thing is to just identify what those things are each day.
Can you tell me about the most challenging project you worked on?
Challenging projects. Sorry. So for me, in our business, we have to, of course, work with customers on a regular basis, but sometimes we have to find ways to work with our competitors in ways that are legal. And so what we have to do is figure out how we can sometimes work out win-win situations that are good for both. So sometimes we'll buy products from them that we need, and they'll buy products from us that they need. And working out that situation is always really interesting and definitely a challenge because obviously they don't necessarily always want you to win. So you have to work within a way that can work for both groups, and you also have to work within the law. So you have to make sure that you're doing something that is within the law and what is appropriate. So you don't want to get in trouble, of course. So you want to make sure that everything is fair.
What attracted you to the field of business management?
I started as a chemist actually at my company. So I was on the R&D side. So I was making new products and working in the laboratory, and I liked that. But what I wanted to really move towards was having more input into the decision making of our company and decision making that was happening in our businesses. So it wasn't a transition that I made quickly. It was something that happened over a couple of years. But it was, for me, more rewarding to be a part of the business and just work with customers on a regular basis. I think is definitely a lot of fun. And travel as well. I get to travel to some really interesting places in the world.
How did you choose your college or university that you attended?
So I went to Drexel University in Philadelphia. So you guys probably know that one. And Drexel has a very good program for chemistry. So that was definitely one aspect that I liked a lot. The other thing was it has the co-op program where you do a work study at a different business. So you go to school for 6 months and then you go and you work for 6 months at a company, and they teach you about your job and what you're trying to learn. So that's a really great experience to have, because then whenever you do graduate, you have all this experience on your resume, and companies will look at you as potentially a really good, a person right out of school. So I think those were definitely the main reasons why I chose Drexel. I also had a good friend from high school that was going to Drexel too, and we kind of, thought it would be a great idea to go to the same university. But, really the main ones were those two that I mentioned before.
What was the decision-making process that led you to seek higher education?
So I always really enjoyed science, and I knew that if I wanted to pursue a career in science, that I had to go to a university. And so I ended up, as I said before, picking Drexel University as the place to go. But if you're looking for like a STEM type activity that you want to do in the future, whether it's engineering or it's math or whatever, science, you really need to go to a university. And that's kind of how I went down that path.
Did you have to study anything specific in college or university for your career?
So I mentioned how I studied chemistry. I ended up going back to school after I started working at Arkema later on, and I went for a master's degree because you really need to continue your education even past the bachelor's, especially in science, to really advance. And so I went back for my master's and I studied organic chemistry specifically. So organic chemistry is really useful for the plastics that I talked about earlier. If we're talking about pharmaceuticals, so if you're talking about medicine and things like that, it can be really useful. So that's why I chose organic chemistry, and I really enjoyed organic chemistry. So.
What did you major in? What do you have degrees in?
So I majored in chemistry, and organic chemistry was my specialty for my master's.
Describe the difficulty and effort and time it took to earn your degree.
Yeah. So for my bachelor's degree, it's 5 years, and normally it would be 4 years, but because of the work study, you need that extra year. And then for my master's degree, when I went back to school, I mean, if a person were to just go full time, they could finish it probably in a year and a half or 2 years. It actually took me 5 years because I was only going at night and taking one class each semester. So it's a slower process, and so it took a significant amount of time to do all that. And the one thing I didn't really mention before, but for my bachelor's, affording college is definitely a big challenge. And for you guys, whenever you go to school, it'll be something that you'll have to think about as well. What I did was I went into the military, and one of the things that I was able to do is, I was in the Army, and I got the GI Bill, which helped to pay for some of my school, and so I could go to school. At the same time, I was in the Army Reserves, and it helped pay for my school. So that was also part of the process when I was, just coming out of high school and looking at how I could afford college.
What advice would you give anyone who is interested into going in your field?
So I think if you're interested in science, I think definitely looking at a good science program at a university is definitely important, and you're going to need at least a bachelor's, and really should think about going for a higher education past that, whether it's a master's or even a PhD, depending on what you ultimately want to do in science. If you're more interested in business, there are many really good business programs in the area, and same thing. You want to get your bachelor's at the very least, and consider what's called an MBA, a Master's in Business Administration, to really really pursue a career in business for the long term. And it's not necessarily a decision that you need to make like right after you finish college, but it's something that you definitely want to have somewhere in your career. So I think those would be either career path that you decide to do.
You mentioned your friend that went to college with you. Does he work with you?
That's a nice question, John. So he doesn't. He actually decided that he left Drexel, and so he didn't actually stay to finish his degree there. but no, so he doesn't work at my company. But I do have a lot of friends, and I'll tell you one other thing. So I met my wife at Arkema. We were both in the same group, and eventually we dated, and then we got married. So I ended up meeting my future wife here. So that was something that is very special to me.
You mentioned that your competitor buys stuff from you and you buy stuff from your competitor. Can you tell us who your competitor is?
So, companies like Chemours, which is in Wilmington, Delaware, and companies like Honeywell in New Jersey. Those are the types of companies that are competitors in our industry.
We had two chemists come here, and they talked about lava lamps. And one chemist said that she watches paint dry. And is there any other roles, any
Like what did I do as a chemist?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So John, I did. Let's see, projects I worked on. Some of them were to make detergents, like your laundry detergent. They were basically chemicals that I was making that would help manufacture those. I also worked on paints as well. So it was paints for the bottom of a boat. So if you look at like a big ship, it always has this red paint at the bottom of it. And that red paint is there to keep off all the barnacles and things like that would collect on the bottom of a ship and slow it down. So it keeps all those off, and that's the purpose of that paint. And so I helped work on new paints that were more environmentally friendly to help keep that ship nice and clean. And then the other one that I worked on was for bottles, glass bottles. So the glass bottle needs to be protected when it's manufactured at the glass factory, and so that it doesn't break. And so I worked on some coatings that helped protect that bottle in the manufacturing process, so that it could be filled at very high speeds and wouldn't get scratched or break. So a little bit of everything.
Did you ever discover something new, like you said, laundry detergent? Did you ever discover something big?
I guess I to be fair, probably not anything real super big. I did mention that I had a couple of patents, and a patent is something that you apply to the U.S. government, and no one else can then copy your idea, essentially. And that patent is something that I'm proud of, that I was a part of. And so it was more for the oil and gas industry, and that helps. If you've heard of the fracking industry, they're taking oil out of the ground, or they're taking gas out of the ground, and it's been a real revolution for the country that we have abundant sources of oil and gas that help keep us. We have the gas to keep us warm. We have the oil to drive our cars. And so I was part of a project where we helped simplify that process. So I don't know if that's big, but it's something I'm proud of.
Can you tell me what are your patents?
Yeah, the patents are for they actually color the different chemicals that go into the ground, and it helps to identify them so that they wouldn't be mixed up in the wrong order. Also, it helps to identify them so that we know, this, when you're adding A to B, you know exactly which products you're adding together. And so the fact that they were very stable and they could work in a variety of different chemicals and still keep that color was really important. So that's what the patents were about.
Where can our audience go to see some of your work or follow you on social media?
So I'll admit I'm not a huge social media person, but I am on LinkedIn, and I do post any of the things that our company is working on. If we have new jobs where we're looking for people to join our company, any new events that we're working on that we'd like to share with our customers or those who are just followers. And I think those would be the main things that you would find me in terms of posting. I do have, if you were interested, I have a couple of different patents that I've been awarded earlier in my career when I was working more in R&D. And so it's something I'm proud of that I got to be a part of having a U.S. patent. And then a couple of journal articles that I have co-authored with some of my professors when it came to some of the research I was working on a number of years ago for some of the organic chemistry that I was working on.
Mr. Swan, thank you for being our guest today. We appreciate it. Come back anytime.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate your time, and this was really a lot of fun. You guys asked some great questions.
This concludes this episode of the Moffat Tattletale. Be sure to subscribe to our Spotify and YouTube channel.
Okay. Well, good luck. You're doing a great job. Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Come on, guys. Take care.
Bye. Bye, Mr. Swan.
We always try to do our best for Moffat School tops all the rest. We're very proud to shout out loud the name of our school, John Moffat. Can't stop it.